I'm sure you've noticed that Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been rounding up a posse around the country with help from his colleagues, other Republican governors, sending help for him to the border to address the crisis that roils Texas because of the Biden administration's de facto open border policy. Well, yesterday there was a suit filed in federal court in Galveston, suit filed by a number of sheriffs in Texas as well as ICE officers, and it was the council, I should say, representing those law enforcement officials in that suit is former Kansas Secretary of State and now General Counsel of the Alliance for Free Citizens, Kris Kobach, who joins us now. Kris, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys.
So the basis for the suit that you filed?
Well, the Biden administration in February issued a memorandum, and this memorandum was truly earth-shattering. It told ICE officers that they now may not deport people that they routinely would have deported unless they're in a very tiny category of aggravated felons who've committed very severe felonies. But 90% of the deportees that they would have deported without a second thought, they were not allowed to do so unless they got special approval from their very high superiors. And as it's worked out, that approval virtually never happens. And so ICE is basically being ordered by their political overlords to break the law, because back in the 90s, Congress passed 3 different federal laws that say you shall deport people in this category and you must detain people in that category, and there's no discretion left. So basically, this Biden administration policy is asking ICE officers to break the law, and as a result, sheriff's departments in Texas are just, their jails are full. Aliens they would have transferred to ICE for deportation, ICE is no longer taking them, and even worse, in Texas right now, when illegal aliens finish their prison sentence, whether they're serving it in a prison or in a county jail, normally they would have been immediately, a phone call would have been made to ICE, and ICE would come over and pick them up and deport them. Now, ICE is telling them, sorry, under the new policies, you got to let them loose on the streets. And so we hit.
So you're seeking a declaratory judgment from federal court and probably an injunction against this
Correct.
Federal policy?
Correct. We're merely asking the judge, please allow the ICE officers to follow the law, and that will in turn help the sheriffs better restore order in their own counties in Texas, which are just being overrun right now.
I know we're short on time with you, but you've been had real profile on this area of the law as well. And by the way, I should mention you're a Harvard Law grad, so you don't have to. You know how that goes.
Actually, Yale Law, but that's close. Anyway,
Harvard undergrad? Would you go to Harvard undergrad?
That's right. Yeah.
See, I know what you did. You made me say Harvard Law so you could get the Yale in, too. So now you got the Harvard and the Yale. You guys, you Ivy Leaguers. All right, I wanted to get your take on the Supreme Court decision in the Arizona case, the Arizona voting rights case. Ban on ballot harvesting, requirement voters cast ballots on Election Day. Both of those strictures to voting in Arizona upheld in a 6-3 decision by the court, which is now being decried, of course, by the Democrat Socialists as the end of our democracy, and it's a representative republic, but I quibble. Your reaction to that decision and the reaction of the expected reaction of the left to it?
Well, as the former Secretary of State of Kansas and someone who was the chief voting official for the state and someone who's litigated these issues in court as well, it should have been a 9-0 decision. These are so clearly consistent with federal statute. They're consistent with the Constitution. I think it was a bogus legal challenge from the start. And, the way the left has successfully agitated on this issue, where things that are incredibly popular, the states like Kansas and many others that have no ID, the numbers are off the charts. You see 80% support among all racial groups. And yet the left is telling African Americans, no, this is racist, this hurts you. When they say, no, we like it. So the idea that these types of very common sense restrictions are unconstitutional or violate federal law is simply wrong.
Have you followed the Arizona election audit closely, and what is your prediction on that?
Well, it's hard to make a prediction because, we're hoping the auditors are absolutely faithful and objective. And, I'm guessing that they will find irregularities just because the numbers in Arizona did look a little odd, but I don't know whether they will find irregularities that were big enough to have changed the outcome. We'll see. I've spoken to some of the legislators and worked with them in Arizona, not on the audit, but on some election reform bills, coincidentally. But these are the legislators who are involved in driving the audit. And one thing I'm really heartened by is they are determined to see this audit through and get this information out to the public, whatever it may be. And so I think one way or another, there will be a decision, a result from the audit, which shows whatever it shows. And I think that's good because there's so much political pressure on these Arizona legislators to just shut up and go away.
He is former Kansas Secretary of State Kris Kobach, now the general counsel of the Alliance for Free Citizens, representing those law enforcement officials in Texas who filed suit against the Biden administration so they can do their jobs. Kris Kobach, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with that suit.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
One of the things we have learned in the past year, technology is a must. You must have good data and cell service inside your building. Do you have bad service? Let's fix that. This is Kelly Piles. My company is PC Net Services. We fix that bad data and cellular connection inside your building and stop the complaints. It's not as complicated as you might think, but it does make a difference. We work with all major cellular carriers and data communications companies across the nation. We can improve your cellular